If they do that, the Cougars will be very, 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 very tough to beat.
Off the window, no! Roberts tried to get it. Shed for the win! Got it!
Just with 14 points, but he just looked, the way that he dominated the game was in controlling the pace and making smart decision after decision.
Call the 5 slammer down.
Go to pizza spot before or after.
The dream is alive for Houston. Go Cougs! Let's go!
Welcome into another episode of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family, the original Houston postgame show after each and every single football and men's basketball show. And we're coming off a crazy, there's no other way to put it, a crazy-ass game in which the Houston Cougars led 81-69, 2 minutes left. The Aggies choose to foul, extend the game early, and long story short, they find themselves in a position 83-86. And out of all the players, it wasn't Wade Taylor, it wasn't any one of their other guards. It was Anders Garcia, who had their forward, who had, to their credit, had given Houston headaches all night long. Buried a 3, forced overtime. In the overtime period, Houston saw various players foul out. Emmanuel Sharp fouled out. Jamal Shed fouled out. LJ Cryer fouled out. Javier Francis fouled out. And somehow, someway, the Houston Cougars found a way to win, survive in advance. That's the saying in March, and the Cougars did just that, defeating the Aggies 100-95, and they're going on to the Sweet 16 and will face off against the Duke Blue Devils on Friday night in Dallas. Woo, what a crazy game. Joining me, as always, Chris Gardner with the Houston Roundball Review and Dayon Dunlap. How are y'all feeling after that crazy game?
I feel great, man. I feel great. Surviving advance. And go ahead, Dayon. We'll get into it.
Man, I'm hyped. What a finish. Our guard plays great. Total team effort. I'm hyped.
And I'm going to say it, and I'll take the hits and the daggers and the slings and arrows come my way from the fans. First half, a lot of the fouls on the Cougs were legit fouls. Okay, Aggies missed their free throws. Second half, let me see. Let me count it up. Let's see. Second half, there were 24 fouls called in the second half. 13 on the Aggies, 11 on the Cougars. Down the stretch, the refs wanted to let everybody know, yeah, we're part of the basketball game too, apparently. But man, Jamal Shed knew he had 4 fouls on that drive. Just let him go. Leak was right there to swat that layup attempt. Just let him go. It wasn't necessary. You know he had 4 fouls. LJ Cryer, he fouled Wade Taylor on a 3-point attempt. Those were fouls.
Javier Francis,
on his fouls, pushing the back. Fouls. Yep. Those are fouls. The Cougs found a way to win. 4 starters fouled out. They missed free throws down the stretch in those closing seconds before overtime, which would have iced the game.
Emmanuel Sharp.
Emmanuel Sharp. He had not missed free throw until the final seconds of the game. That's how John G. It wasn't one-sided. That's what I'm saying. It was not one-sided. But let's say it is. If first half, you see the refs are calling it tight on you. Is it on you as players to adjust how the game's being called, or keep doing stuff that got the fouls called in the first place? I mean, that's what it comes down to. If you know, especially these refs, they call it tight. That's these 3 refs for this game. They call it tight. That's what they do. It's on you as players to adjust. 2 Aggies fouled out. Another one had 4 fouls. There are a whole bunch of fouls in this game. The Cougs still won this game. I wish they wouldn't have caused as many fouls, but that's what these 3 refs. This crew is known for calling games tight. You got to adjust.
They did it from the very beginning. They were consistent.
Got to adjust.
Yeah, I mean, as a hooper, you just wanted to be consistent and calling it on both ways, and so both teams have to adjust. And so to me, it just was what it was. That's just part of the game, part of just how a game can go. but both teams had their opportunity to leave it out on the floor and impact winning. And Houston made enough winning plays, led by their leader Jamal Shed and the rest of the guards. I mean, Emmanuel and LJ. And so, I mean, it was what it was with the refs. I mean, they recall a lot of fouls, but that's part of it. Some of them was fouls. And so, to me, it was good. It was a good referee game. I mean, they called the fouls that were called. I mean, sometimes was it excessive, but stop fouling. But they were both aggressive teams, and so I mean, they I think it was refereed well. Houston had enough winning plays.
These refs, this is how they call it. Other refs let things go. But I think what we're saying is, as a team, as players, both sides, you got to adjust to how the game is being called.
Yeah, and they're not going to get every call right. They didn't get every call right against Houston. They didn't get every call right against A&M. That's just part of the game. And so, to me, that's a wash. A&M played well. You give them a credit for the fight and not giving up. But at the end of the day, I mean, let's break down the game. I mean, the rest was a small part of it. Houston made enough.
Ramon Walker came through with a clutch offensive rebound. I want to say this. I was surprised Coach did not play Ramon more in the first half when Jawan and Jay were in foul trouble. And I think, didn't Jay pick up his third foul in the first half?
Yeah, he did. He picked up that third foul early on, and I think during a certain stretch into the second half, Ramon Walker had only played 3 minutes.
Yeah, so I was surprised by that.
I wasn't really surprised. I think just because of the way the flow of the game was going, Damian came in, was giving a good spark. Then Malik also came in and gave a good spark. And so I think he was just more riding them. I think I see what you guys mean, though, for sure, because of the impact when he came in.
But it's just, and it was funny because first half, Emmanuel Sharp had it going from 3, and nobody else did for the Cougs. I think he was 4 for 7. The rest, everybody else was 1 for 7.
Mm-hmm.
Second half, LJ Cry had it going for a while. Emmanuel cooled off, and then Emmanuel heated up again. Emmanuel scored 30 points in the game.
New career high. Different points. This is what they do. We've said it throughout this season on LRC. Different Cougs during the games step up. And that's what they did. They found a way to win this game.
And I think it was a great game. You just start from the first half. I think Jamal, that's what I said, was doing what he do. I mean, he was the best guard on the floor, played a complete game. But with Emmanuel had it going, and LJ just wasn't knocking down open shots. And then when he got it going in the second half, I think with Emmanuel already having it going, it kind of just opened the floor, which allowed Jamal to even step up and control the game even more and get inside and start to look for his own even more. And so when they both had it going in the second half, the floor was able to be so spread. Jamal was just going to work, making play after play. LJ gave him credit for staying with it, making big shot after big shot in the second half. But that's why I said Emmanuel was the X factor, because the way that he got it going with LJ kind of being it's like when he heat up, he hot. And once he made one, he just had it going, I think. But with Emmanuel keeping it alive, and I think, and defensively too, he was a pest defensively. I want to give him credit for the way he guarded Bradford. He had a good game, but Emmanuel made it tough for him, got some good strips, some good blocks. He really, really competed, and he had a complete game.
And
outside of missing those free throws.
Yeah, checking the box score, Ramon did not have, he was one of the few Cougs who did not have a foul in the first half.
Yeah.
Jamal had 2, LJ had 2, Jay had 3, Juan had 2, Sharp had 2, Sid had 1, Malik had 1, Damian had 1. Ramon was the only one who did not have a foul in the first half for the Cougs.
A&M was affected by foul trouble with Obaseki. You see, to me, in my opinion, I told after seeing it, he nice. He looked like an NBA guard. I think if he come back next year and be featured even more in Texas A&M, he got a lot of potential. But foul trouble, it affected both teams. To me, that's a wash. No teams can say both teams. That's just what it was. But I think Houston trio of guards outplayed A&M is what it all boiled down to.
Yeah,
that's big point.
Excuse me, Andy. Yeah, because I shout out the people who contributed to the show. Mm-hmm. But when Ramon only played so few in the first half, I thought it was because they wanted rest him, save him more for the second half. And then I was wondering, well, maybe he had a flare up with the knee, and John Houston said, well, no, let's rest him, limit his minutes kind of thing.
Maybe.
But he came through down the stretch, and again, man, this team just finds ways to win. Yes,
Toughest teams win, man.
It's tough on your heart. It's sometimes maddening, frustrating, but it's fun and exciting. I know one thing: it's never boring watching the Cougars play basketball. I'll say that.
Can you believe our walk-on was made a crutch time free throw?
Made a clutch free throw. Extended the game.
Toughest
And
teams
that's
win, man.
that's the thing about this game in particular. There was so many moments, so many different players that stepped up. Obviously, we touched on LJ Cryer, Emmanuel Sharp, Jamal Shedd, but think about it. There was a stretch there in the second half. Jawan Roberts, who was dealing with foul trouble himself, avoided picking up his fifth foul. But there were some stretches when Texas A&M was denying the ball on the guards, and Jawan Roberts had a stretch where he just took it to the basket and hit some key pivotal shots for Houston by being strong, being aggressive, and top to bottom, Malik Wilson, he split a couple of free throws, but was able to make them and extend Houston's lead. Ramon Walker, like we said, after Damian Dunn three, he was able to get that offensive rebound put back for the score in overtime. That was very, very crucial down the stretch. That really gave Houston that advantage in that overtime period. Damian Dunn himself, towards late in the second half and even into overtime, he hit a couple of big shots when the offense picked up the pace. There's just so many different players in this game in particular that contributed to this win, and at the top to bottom, it was a culture win because Houston was literally limping to the finish line. They were just trying to get over the hump so they can go ahead and advance to the Sweet 16. Give credit, tip your hat to Texas A&M because they made it difficult. They refused to go away, and some of the shots that they made, I mean, it was great defense by the Cougars, but they were making some tough shots themselves. I think that's the blessing and the curse with A&M, because some of Wade Taylor's shots over the course of that entire game were head scratchers. Some of them he would make them, and you were just you can't play much better defense.
He just, as Coach Samson said, I think yesterday in the press conference, he has a fluorescent green light, just ultimate green. Let's just let it fly, young fella. Coach Buzz, just Wade, go ahead. He jacks up some stuff. I mean,
a lot.
And sometimes he gets hot some of those. Sometimes he doesn't. But the LJ Cryer fouled Wade on a 3-point shot attempt. That was a foul. He hit him on his hand. That's a foul.
It was a touch foul, but he did touch him.
He made contact with his hand. That's a foul. And all the bitching and complaining about the officiating, there's a lot of fouls called, yes. Too many for my taste, yes. But second half free throws, the Aggies took 3 more free throws than Houston. 3. I mean, so how much of a gripe you want to give? They took 3 more free throws in Houston in the second half.
Yeah, to your point, Andy, with J1, he made some clutch plays. And just watching him, I was thinking he makes smart decision after smart decision. Because one of those times he made a great pass to Emmanuel, who knocked down the big 3. And a couple times after that, he made a good drive, then faked the handoff and made another good drive. He just makes clutch winning plays. I mean, he's another player whose toughness coming back in, who had a really good game. But it was a total team effort. I mean, just it seems like momentum plays that Damian made, that Malik made, all those plays were needed at the right time. And it's just the tougher teams win. You could tell the team been there. They were poised. Everyone was poised. Everyone was ready to step up when their name was called. And they made the right plays. And it really just started it started with so many players. But Jamal, I think he led the way. He showed why he was the best defensive guard in the Big 12 this year. I think he was the best defensive guard throughout the country. He made it tough for Taylor all game, and he made play after play, whether it was dishing it or being aggressive to score. He's really just showing he was a complete scorer. And he didn't make any threes tonight, but you can still see that that's another aspect of his game that he doesn't have to rely on to beat you and have a dominant game.
And I'm going to say this because I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Y'all, I'm old school. Y'all don't agree with me on the fouls, officiating. That's fine. But if you shoot 19 threes and a half, should you expect to go to the line a lot? Houston took 19 threes in the first half. Aggies took 6. Aggies attacked the basket, beat the Cougs off the dribble in the first half. So if you take 19 threes in a half, should you expect to get a lot of fouls called in your favor?
No, and I think a big reason for that too, Jawan Roberts something was bothering him, whether it was the shin on or the bruise on his shin, where he was in a lot of pain, and he kind of limited minutes in the first half, and then obviously Javier Francis in foul trouble too. Houston kind of was playing a lot more perimeter based in that first half.
And he hustled that loose ball that he chased down that rebound and tipped it back to Jamal Shed. I mean, just little bits and pieces here and there. The hustle plays made by both teams.
Manual.
Aggies gave what they had. The Aggies didn't quit. They did not quit. Give them credit. They did not quit. They were down by double figures. They didn't quit. They hustled. They attacked the basket. Hey, if ref's going to call it tight, you know what you do? Attack the basket. That's what they did. When the Cougs attacked the basket, one thing that me and Dan touch on a lot, when LJ was missing threes in the first half, he pump faked, drove baseline, got fouled, went to free throw line. You don't have to always shoot three sometimes, especially if they're not falling, to score. Pump fake, drive to the hole. You do that sometimes to get yourself going. You see the refs calling other team, well, I'm going to make you call it in my way when I drive to the basket. But if I stand out there shooting threes all day long, don't expect the refs to call a foul for you. The Cougs made adjustment in second half. They were more aggressive in second half.
Real quick, let's put a pin on it. We'll get back in a second, but I'd like to remind everybody that this is Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. Big thank you to Steve Saxenian for being the primary sponsor not only of today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, but he has been all season long, from the first game of the regular season in November all the way to now, and he'll continue for the Sweet 16 game following Houston and Duke. And of course, we also like to say thank you to our secondary sponsors on today's episode, starting with Star Pizza with 3 locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to spot before or after the game. And we like to say thank you to Mike and Jennifer Pittman for also being supporters of the show throughout the entire season. And we also like to say thank you to BB's Tex Orleans, which has 14 locations to serve you. Build your boil with us today. And a big thank you to BB's Tex Orleans for being a sponsor on Let's Rage Coogs for the duration of the Houston Cougars NCAA Tournament run. And we also like to say thank you to UH Cougar alum and real estate broker Vincent Harding, who is the sponsor of the ticker that you see down below on our video platforms. If you're interested in contacting him for real estate services, reach out to him at 832-758-2712. Once again, a big thank you to Vincent Harding for being a sponsor of the ticker on today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. And a big thank you to all of you guys that are joining us on this Sunday night. A lot of excitement following Houston's win over Texas A&M. Special thank you to EI Crabtree77 for supporting the show. He says, "Go Cougs while surviving advance for the game. A&M's team came to play. Good for them. Houston owns the state of Texas." I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Houston's the last team standing in Texas in the NCAA tournament. A big thank you to Houston Cougars Germany as well, who said he aged 10 years in 20 minutes, needless fouls, horrid officiating, and tenacious adversary. I'm assuming he's trying to say adversary.
Adversary, yep.
In the end, the Cougs and the man of the evening /year, Jamal Shed, advance. Love my Cougs. Love Let's Rage Coogs. Big thank you to Houston Cougars Germany. And we also like to say thank you to Reaction Therapy. He says, "Great show, guys. His team never quits, and he can't wait to make the trip down to Dallas next weekend to catch the Cougars in person." And he ends it with saying, "Go Cougs." So thank you, all of you guys, but those in particular, for joining us on this episode of Let's Rage Coogs. Effie says Jawan has CTE on his knee. Those legs are definitely bothering Jawan Roberts. They keep creeping up, and it's not going to go away. He's going to be battling that until the Houston Cougars play their last game, whenever that may be. It's not going to get any better anytime soon.
Yeah, he's gutting it out. You know, he's healthy enough to play. Okay,
but it's painful as hell.
Yeah, he's not probably 85%, but he's healthy enough that John Houston says he can play. He's good enough. It won't get any worse, you know, so he's going to give it everything he's got, and salute to him for just gutting it out.
Yeah, we need him so much. I think it's just such a difference because when he gives us on the floor and was being someone that Houston can throw the ball inside the post to, regardless, and be a threat to score or be a threat to make a play because he's just as good of a playmaker as he is scoring. And so, I mean, and as well as what he brings rebounding wise. I mean, he played a great game. The plays that he made, the energy that he brings, and I think the way that he is able to settle the team down. A lot of times in the huddles, I see him doing a lot of talking as well. And so, this team, I love this team, man. But what a game! I think the guards really stepped up well, and I think in that first half, if LJ would have been on, Houston probably would have had a bigger lead. I think if you'd have made just the shots that he had great looks, just didn't fall. So I was watching that second half. I'm like, okay, LJ, just come on, just start hitting, and he did, and Houston was able to pull away, and they was able to. The game got back close to the way it ended out, but way to gut it out. I mean, total team win. Jamal stepped up big in that crunch time, but you could see as when the shooters aren't on the floor, is really noticeable how well they complement him because of their threat to shoot. But Malik, great cut without the ball. He able to drive, cut. Jamal hit him right in the hands that he was able to finish. And so those type plays and being ready when your number is called, I think this was a total team win from the coaching staff to all the players. Everyone really contributed.
Real quickly, it is official time and date for Friday's game. Houston Duke will tip off at 8:35 Central Time from the American Airlines Center in Dallas, and that game will air on CBS for those that can't make it out to the game. But already there is a big pitch to get a lot of Houston Cougars red out to Dallas for the Sweet 16 showdown between Houston and Duke. But once again, that is scheduled for an 8:35 Central Time tip, and that game will air on CBS. So they're going to have the primetime slot Houston Duke Friday night.
Well, I mean, the late slot, really, because it's 9:30 on Eastern time. But yeah, I got my email too for tickets for the game against Duke on Friday. But yeah, the Cougs, Duke 8:35. Big 12 got the best two teams still standing in the Sweet 16, in Houston and Iowa State. ACC has 4 teams left in the Sweet 16. But we'll talk about Duke later on. The Cougs found a way to win this game. And at times, I'm old and I'm a pessimist. But at times, I wonder, this team is special. I mean, this team is just finding ways to survive and advance. That's what they're doing. You know, Deion, he said it. I'm gonna trust him. He put it out there. It's in the universe. So let's keep going, man. You know,
Chris, does it seem they're destined to you?
I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm getting there. Yep. Yeah. You know, and Duke is inconsistent, but their freshman, was it Jared McCain, scored 30 something today.
He had a crazy game in the second round. He was on fire. Couldn't miss.
And I think he was a Cougar recruit. You know,
yeah, he was
in high school. You know, he chose.
They had the official visit.
Yeah,
I know. I remember because he made a TikTok when he had that visit, and he posted it. So he was being recruited by Houston when he was in high school. So there.
I remember that TikTok because I think I asked you, "What the hell is this?" I think that's what that was. I thought, "What is this stuff?" But yeah,
they're very offensive. Inconsistent is a key word, but when they got it going like they did in that second round game against James Madison, they're a really explosive offensive team.
But now I'm going to be petty. Has Stephen A. posted anything after the result of tonight's victory?
There goes his bracket. Yeah, at least for the South region, he had Texas A&M going to the final.
Anyone commented on the fact the Houston Cougars, who struggle to score points, scored 100 points today? They found a way to win by scoring points. They were outscoring the Aggies in the second half. Okay, their offense was beating the Aggies. It was their defense. They were beating them with threes from LJ Cryer, buckets from Emmanuel Sharp. Their offense won this game. You know, the Cougs can't score when Jamal, LJ, and Emmanuel Sharp have it going. They're tough to beat. Just saying.
Yeah, he hit it right on the head, and I think that's just see those type of media people that you mentioned, Chris, don't really watch the Cougs. They just see probably highlights, and so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they don't really be able to see the Cougs. But uh, we've talked about how how they can score and just the will to win. They played great defense tonight, but Texas A&M fought and made enough shots to keep them in the game and send it to overtime. But you got to hold Houston to a higher standard and be like they should have put them away. They had chances to put them away. I think they'll learn from it and just be more ready and learn from that experience. And hopefully the games aren't as called, don't have the foul trouble that they had. But other than that, I think Houston, Jamal Shead, he was spectacular. Emmanuel Sharp was spectacular. LJ came up big, was spectacular. And so those three guards complement each other so well. And if they could just keep it going, and they're going to be hard to beat.
And it's good they don't play till Friday. So
yes.
they'll come back tomorrow. They're not going to come back tonight, I'm sure. Come back to Houston tomorrow. Have a day off. Going to Dallas should be just a bus trip. I like them to fly, but anyway, take a bus and not play and take a bus up there. Probably, well, I don't know if they got to do probably media stuff. Probably Wednesday, and then so they might be in Dallas on Wednesday, and then you practice Thursday and get ready for the game on Friday night.
I want to bring up Brandon S. comments. He's talking about how Jamal Shead has it. Any team can benefit, how he galvanizes the team. Chris, to your point, during that stretch in the game when Emmanuel Sharp poked the ball loose, it looked like it was going to go out of bounds, and he dove for it, saved it to Jamal Shead. Shead waited for Emmanuel to get up and gave him a high five, dapped him up as he went back. Again, goes to show how much of a leader he is. And, that's Shead, specifically little things right there where he speaks from his leadership standpoint. He recognized how big that stop and really that effort by Emmanuel Sharp was, and it goes back to speak overall to the whole as how that's Houston culture play personified in that moment by Emmanuel Sharp.
And he's a perfectionist because there were a couple times he got beat off the dribble and he had a few turnovers, but one time he got beat off the dribble, you could hear, and Aggie scored, you could hear him swear. I won't repeat what he said, but it was F word because his man beat him off the dribble for a driving layup. He hates that. But he still found ways to win and keep his team in this game, and they got the W in overtime by 5 with what was left of their team. If the game had gone in second overtime, I don't know if they could have won it, but it didn't, and it won by 5.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I think just the way that they started overtime with Jamal making the plays that he made, I think that was big. He does have that it factor and that will to win, and it's just the way that he is conscious of which players to get the ball to in their spots, whether it's Emmanuel in that first half, whether it's LJ in the second half, or when he's recognizing that they both have it going and defense can't help off of them. It's his ability to get downhill, get to his spots, and make big plays when they need it down the stretch, whether it is to finish. And this makes him so complete because he's a pass-for point guard. He had a double-double tonight. 20 plus 21 points and 10 assists. And so that can't go unnoticed with the defense that he played on Taylor. Didn't play all minutes except where he fouled out. I mean, that shows you the heart and determined factor that he has to win this game. And so I'm very confident with him and looking forward to the matchup against Roach, who's a really good veteran guard for Duke as well. But I think, and we can't forget just watching how athletic and how strong Jamal Shead is. It really sticks out. His athleticism, that dunk had me going crazy. We cannot forget to mention that dunk.
Flew, man.
Dunk. Yeah. Man, it's like his vertical is crazy. Jamal Shead, man, he's special. I love him.
Came out of nowhere. Looked like he literally had
Out of
jumped off
nowhere.
a trampoline.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing about that whole sequence is when they cut to his parents and looked like even his dad was surprised, but he was
Yeah.
excited. They were all excited like crazy. But yeah, that was definitely a big time play. The bench loved it for Houston. They were up in the air, they were jumping, and that was definitely a very highlight reel worthy play that you're guys are going to see in Sports Center over the course of the next 12-hour news cycle.
And salute to an Aggie. How about that? Got Aggie chiming in, watching Let's Rage Coogs. Thank you very much, and thank you for the tuning in and for the compliment. And Coach Buzz, heck, first, a couple things. Jamal and LJ, they've known Manny Obaseki and Wade Taylor for years. High school, competed against them. So this was it was like a, what does he call it? A backyard rivalry kind of game, because go back to high school with these guys. And Coach Buzz has so much respect for Coach Kelvin Samson and the job he's done at Houston. And the respect is mutual. And it's good that the Cougs came out on top, and he touched on it. Houston is the last Texas team standing in men's tournament. And they got the Dukies on Friday.
Work Dude says this team reminds him of that last Final Four team for Houston, which in 2021 they were on the verge of being eliminated against Rutgers, and that game was much more of a headache. You know what? It was kind of similar in fashion, but Houston came back from behind and was able to pull away late. That was the Dejan Jarreau hip game in which he really grinded out and was pivotal in Houston coming back and winning. And Quentin Grimes, too. I remember that game. He missed the free throw. Houston got the offensive rebound, got it back into the hands of Grimes, and he hit a big three. This team, the 2023-24 version, definitely has shown that same grit, that same determination, which last time they did, it bode well for the Cougars. But
that's culture right there. That's culture. I mean, being mentally tough in adverse situations. Just got to speak about the adversity, the will to win of this team, and no matter who's been hurt, who's been in foul trouble in any given game, everyone stepped up when a number was called today. From Damian Dunn to Malik Wilson to Jamal to Emmanuel to Ryan Elvin to Ramon to the whole team. I know JVL was in foul trouble mostly, but when he was on the floor, he effected some shots, got some rebounds. And so, I mean, this was a total team effort. I mean, this was a tough win. I know Houston got to make those free throws down the stretch, but if Houston guards play this well, I don't know. Well, if Duke have to shoot as well as they shot, but Texas A&M, they miss a lot of free throws. I mean, if they make the free throws, it's a different ball game. But Houston, I mean, we won this game. We wanted it more. Toughest team to win, man. Culture.
Texas A&M missed 16 free throws, 29 for 45 from the free throw line. An absurd stat.
11 of those were in the first half. So that's what kept the Cougs in it and allowed the Cougs to go ahead and lead at halftime. But rebounding, first half, the offensive rebounds, they were killing Houston, which is another reason the Cougs got some fouls, because the Aggies got offensive rebounds and the Cougs foul. As Coach Samson says, we secure defense ends, possession ends, where you get the defense rebound. If they'd have done that a few more times in the first half, no foul. But they didn't. But the Aggies missed 11 free throws, and Houston led by 5 at halftime. The Aggies won the boards 49-35, but they only won second chance points by 8. So they didn't score a lot of points off their second chance opportunities. All different kinds of ways that Houston won, and the Aggies just didn't do enough to win.
That's a great point, Chris. Texas A&M, that was a lot of their offense throughout the game. 26 offensive rebounds against Houston, which some of it maybe had to play into the factor. You can't obviously forget Javier Francis and Juwan Roberts, who were battling foul trouble over the course of the entire game. That was a big factor. 26-11 when it comes to offensive rebounds, comparing Texas A&M and Houston, and the Aggies were able to turn that into 26 second chance points.
And what do y'all think about this? this question. It's hindsight now. Do you think Coach Samson should have called timeout with 1.2 left in regulation?
It's hindsight. I mean, you get the chance to set up your defense, and out of all the players that got the ball for Texas A&M, you would live with that being the one person that takes the shot, and he just happened to make it. What say you, Darren?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think, I mean, you get the chance to set your defense to be prepared. It's just kind of like a scramble play. Malik just lost his man, a player who's not a 3-point shooter, split second, and so you live with it. You live with it.
And I mean, it's just, I wasn't surprised because I think he wanted to remind the guys not to foul, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it was off.
Anderson Garcia was not their first option on that play. I know that. So, hey, we made the shot. Forced overtime, and it wasn't the game-winning shot. But audience, everybody watching us on all the platforms, on YouTube and on Twitter. When he made that shot to force overtime, how many of the audience, how many fans tuning in on all the platforms, how many thought, oh my gosh, the Cougs going to lose this game? How many folks, be honest now, how many of you guys thought they're going to lose this game once we went in overtime? I got a text from a few friends. Oh, they're going to lose, Chris. And I'm like, this team will find a way to win. It may take 5 more minutes to get it done, but they're going to find a way. Michael Jones said
Michael Jones admits it.
I mean, there was, because the Aggies had all the momentum. And the Cougs they were stunned. The players were stunned.
Yeah, Crabtree says he was nervous, not going to lie.
But they regrouped. Coach Sam told Rothstein after the game. He reminded them in the huddle, we've been through this. This happened against Baylor. We're still fine. And they found a way to win.
I was nervous. Yeah. But I wasn't
being nervous is different than thinking they were going to lose.
It is. Yeah, it is. I was still confident with having Jamal and the way that our role players have stepped up in the first half and was feeling good about themselves. It had me feeling confident in the team with Jamal on the floor that we were good.
Now when Jamal fouled out,
yes, that was a more nerve-wracking moment.
Oh boy, how they gonna close this out now?
That's when we started counting down.
That's what I was like, okay, now just make your free throws.
But they won it in the first OT. No worries about going to the second one. So hey, they won. I'm looking forward to hearing the press conferences from the Aggies and the Cougars once they're posted. It was a hell of a game, man. I mean, it was a hell of a game. And Deion touched on it on the last LRC. I'm not sure if it'll happen. I'd like it to happen. I like to see the Cougs and the Aggies play every season. Neutral site, because I'm not sure either coach wants to play in the other team's gym. But neutral site, have it at, Toyota Center. It'll be a packed event. It should be a Q1 matchup for both squads. I'm all for it. I'm not sure it'll happen, but I would like to see it.
Yeah, I agree. And just watching this game, I think I was just realizing how Coach Samson mentioned how Houston isn't a good rebounding team anymore because of the injuries that they had. And how a moment ago you were speaking about how this team can scored 100 points to win this game. And I think people are asleep on how good offensively this team is and has to be for them to win going forward because of their deficiencies rebounding. The defense is still there, but oftentimes offenses can still make shots. And so the rebound, they're still, I think, our offensive rebounding, they still are still good there, not as good, but they still get some tip outs, still get some offensive putbacks are really key. But I think defensive rebounding is something that this team can struggle off against an offensive rebounding team. And Duke has a really good rebounder in their 7-footer. And so it's going to be a challenge. But I think the way that our guards can score, especially if they're all three on, like they were today with Jamal, Emmanuel, and LJ, and then Jaywan doing what he does with just making plays, whether it be for himself or for others, this team can really, really keep going.
And Friday's game will be another example of blue collar against blue blood. But Coach Samson touched on it a little bit Saturday. He said it Friday that the Aggies are an elite offensive rebounding team. And this is the matchup would be a game where the absence of JoJo Tugler would be big. And it came through. And all that, the Cougs still got the dub. I'll take it. And I said it Friday. I don't care if it's by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was by 5. Survive in advance. This team isn't going to blow out folks that are on their level. Longwood was not on the Cougs level. We all knew that. But the Aggies, especially guard matchup wise, we thought it was going to be a battle. And it was. It was a hell of a game. Looking forward to the game against Duke.
I'm working on getting some post-game video from Kelvin Sampson, the players that they had after the game. But real quickly, before we talk a little bit more, I'd like to remind everybody first, thank everybody that's watching Let's Rage Coogs here at 11:43 Central Time that we're watching Let's Rage Coogs After Dark on a Sunday night. Big thank you to Steve Saxenian for being the primary sponsor of today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. This is Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family, the original Houston postgame show after each and every single football and men's basketball game for U of H. And of course, we also like to say thank you to our secondary sponsors. Let's switch it up a little bit, beginning with Vincent Harding, who is the sponsor of today's ticker that you see scrolling across the bottom of the screen on our video platforms. Vincent Harding is a UH Cougar alumni, and he's a real estate broker. If you're interested in contacting him for any real estate services, you can find him at 832-758-2712. Once again, that's 832-758-2712. And we also like to say thank you to BB's for being a sponsor throughout the entire NCAA tournament run. BB's Texas Ordnance has 14 locations to serve you. Build your boil with us today. Once again, a big thank you to BB's Texas Ordnance for being a sponsor on today's episode. And of course, we also like to say thank you to Star Pizza with 3 locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. And it's also the official pizza spot for the Ryan Elvin fan club. Ryan Elvin came up big, like Dejan mentioned earlier in this game, hit a clutch free throw that made it a 2-possession game in closing seconds of overtime and ultimately allowed the Houston Cougars to walk away with the 100-95 victory in overtime and advance to the Sweet 16. I want to bring up this
for the
stat.
4th straight year, right? Right?
It's actually right? Five is what I saw. 2019, 21, 22, 23, and now 24. So 5 straight years that the Cougars are in the Sweet 16, which, I mean, it takes some time right there. Don't let that go over our heads. That is an impressive accomplishment that out of, kind of coincidentally with the opponents that they're facing on Friday in the Sweet 16, the Duke Blue Devils, for the longest time, Houston and the Sweet 16 wasn't synonymous, certainly not when you think of the 2000s and the mid-2010s, the early 2010s. So big showing of where the Houston Cougars are as a program right now.
Yeah, where was it? Saw a question somewhere I wanted to answer. I just missed it. But no matter. Let's see. Oh, yes, here he goes. Yes. He does have 1 more year of eligibility. Yes. Juwan does. Yes. Most of the guys do, the upperclassmen do. We don't expect many of them to use their COVID year But yes, Juan could come back next year.
What do you guys think about this comment? I've been seeing brought up a couple of times, not on our shows, but just over the course of the different injuries that have transpired with Houston. FE says they practice and play too hard to not have injuries by March. Is the way
Yeah, I
the
don't
Houston
know.
Cougars practice?
No, Terrence got hurt
No, I don't know about
in the
that.
game.
Yeah, because it was a stretch for Houston that they hadn't had any injuries, and so I think it's just part of the game. They're getting injured, just part of basketball. I don't know about that.
Terrence towards ACL untouched. No one is around him. What was it? Marcus Sasser did the splits at near half court. That wasn't during a game. Injuries are part of it. The type of injuries they're getting are not because of practice.
And at the same time,
Bad luck.
practicing that hard prepares them for OT, and tough wins like this. I think that makes it easier for them to perform in the game.
Yeah, because if they were suffering like concussions in practice, that's something else. That's different. But they're not. These injuries, it's just like a cloud hanging over them, a black injury cloud. But hey, Hunter Dickinson got hurt in a game. Kevin McCullough hurt his knee. Injuries are part of basketball if you play physical basketball. And then so's bad luck. That's part of it too.
Yep.
Hey. Jamal not coming back. Yeah, I don't think any of us expect Jamal to come back. I think it's not etched in stone, but it's close to it because he's having a hell of a year right now, and there's one thing left for him to accomplish. And Deion knows what it is. Jamal knows what it is. That's all that's left.
And at the end of the season, his draft stock's going to be at an all-time high.
Right. It's going to be as high as that it's going to get. And he showed improvement within every year. And I think just projecting him, I saw a comment earlier when they talked about his defense, the way that he could defend, and defense is willing to defend, along with all that he could bring offensively with being able to control not only the pace of a game, control a team, and run a team. I think he definitely will get his shot to play at the next level. I can't see him coming back. Well, just collegiately, the run, the plays that he made tonight, I was just like, yes, Jamal. He was the best player, the best guard, in my opinion, on the floor.
You referring to this comment by Justin Singleton about learning how to play defense under Kelvin Samson will give him a leg up in the NBA because of his height. He will go in the second round. So Singleton thinks he'll be a second round pick because of his height.
And he's a better athlete than people.
Yes, a great athlete.
Realize.
Great strength.
He's strong. He can jump. He reminded us of that with that putback dunk. But I mean, on some of his block shots, you see how high he jumps and extends his arms for some of those. So he's a hell of a leaper as well. Yeah. So he could rebound in the first half. He went and got too. Yeah.
He could be a pest like Patrick Beverly defensively at the next level.
And have a long career. A long, successful career. Yes, LJ has another year. Yes. Nothing has changed. All the upperclassmen have an next year if they want to use it.
With Houston's point guard situation, assuming that Jamal leaves and not having one already committed, it would be interesting if LJ decided to come back and take on that role to prove that he can lead a team being a primary point guard as well as everything else he brings to the table. I don't see it happening. It's just really kind of throwing it out there for conversation.
No. Because Coach Samson, I don't know if it's after the Longwood game or Saturday in the press conferences, he told the national media, which he's told us a lot, the local media, how in his 10 years at Houston, he's had 3 point guards. And the point guard spot is not a spot you can make a mistake on. So I'm curious. I've been curious for months.
Yeah.
Who the staff will decide for point guard for next year's team. Because based on who does come back and who gets healthy, Terrence and JoJo are healthy. The red shirts having a year of culture under their belt. Next year's team is going to be a hell of a squad too, based on whoever that point guard is going to be.
Yep.
Oh, this one of the things I want to bring up. Someone asked about this earlier. Yeah,
that was last year, wasn't this year?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Andy. Correct. Because it was Ole Miss this year.
Yep.
Because this close scrimmage against Duke was on campus in Houston during a football weekend. So, yep.
Yeah, I want to say it was when they played SMU way back when. SMU was ranked. Effie says that Mercy Miller is going to be the point guard of the future for Houston.
Well, no. You're reading more than what he said. He says he's a point guard.
He is a point guard.
Yeah.
But he plays like a shooting guard.
But folks.
But you can't.
As talented as he is not Jamal Shead year one. So let's forget that.
He'll be a true freshman.
The point guard that will come in is coming from the portal. Or it's LJ Cryer or Malik Wilson. It's not going to be a freshman point guard
unless he's ready. Unless he's ready, Chris. We got to preface that by saying he got to prove it. And then he ready. If he ready, he ready. We can't
be a Kelvin Sampson point guard.
I'm not saying if. It's a big if. I agree with you. It's a big if. But we can't definitively say. I think if Coach Samson saw it and say, "Oh, he ready and he earned it," then it'll be. We didn't expect that. I agree with you. It wouldn't be expected. Yeah. But I have to see more of Mercy because I've only seen bits and pieces and highlights in games to see what he'll project as the next level. I would love for him to be a point guard, big body point guard. But I agree with what Chris is alluding to, that it most likely would probably be from the portal or upperclassman or something like that, or returner, like we mentioned.
Yeah, and even if it's coming from the portal, is that young man something? It's going to take him a while to adjust to the Cougar culture. This is a risk. What the staff is doing is different because the other point guards in Coach Samson's 10 years at Houston grew and developed in the Cougar program. Galen did, Dejan did, Jamal did. Who's that going to be next year? So that's the question. And I'm sure they thought about it and they'll have an answer for it. So I'm not worried about that at all. I'm curious to see who it'll be.
Chris B brings up the point. He says Malik and LJ Cryer point guard would be a red flag. He says it's portal time, and Effie says a freshman can't handle this position day one. And like you said, Chris, even if they get someone from the transfer portal that's a veteran, it would be an adjustment period. And we've seen two different transfers. They've adjusted at different speeds. But, AJ Cryer was able to kind of fit in much more quicker. And obviously Damian Dunn, who took him a while longer. It's taken him, he's had a longer journey to be able to really adapt to Houston. So, no, there are no guarantees. And obviously a freshman is going to be picking up playing at an entire different new level. And on top of that, to be asked to all the different responsibilities that Kelvin Sampson puts on his point guards, that's another adjustment that again, different avenues, different scenarios.
In the Cougar culture, what program is that person coming from? Do they have a similar culture like Houston? I mean, just a lot of different questions, but the staff has a plan, and I'm just looking forward to. I'm curious to see who that person or the people are. There are some point guards, that are in the portal. One point guard I think is from Michigan, the Wolverines. He's like, depending on what you trust, one of the top portal players right now who's come out so far. But I don't know if he's a Kelvin Sampson point guard. That's what the staff will have to evaluate. Who is that Kelvin Sampson Houston Cougar point guard for the program for this coming season?
The one we got right now, he's damn good. And that dunk
Yes.
he put on had me in front of my TV jumping up, going crazy. And so I'm excited about him. I love where he's leading us right now. And I think just looking forward against Duke, the point guard against match up against him and Roach. I expect Duke to have a different player to guard him because I think he have the athleticism as well as the strength going against him. And so it's going to be interesting to see because I think he's a very not streaky, but a very crafty guard. So it's good. The guard matchup is going to be important against Duke. They do have the 7-footer with Filipowski, but you know how Houston defends the post. I think Javier can't get in foul trouble. It's very important for him not to get in foul trouble because although Texas A&M is a good rebounding team, they don't really have height. Mm-hmm. They just really have heart and determination to go get them. And so Duke has height, and that's something that Houston would have to be able to defend with Javier and using. He's probably with the. And so I'm excited about this matchup, man. I think Jamal's going to have another stellar game. Hopefully, Emmanuel and LJ can as well.
And I will also say that Duke, I think they have more well-rounded scorers. And not to take anything away from Texas A&M, but with Texas A&M, I felt like it was a lot more when they're hot, but when they're cold, they're going to throw up a lot of shots, and it might not look pretty. Duke has multiple players that can score versatile of ways, whether it be Proctor, whether it be McCain, like we saw in today's game when they played against James Madison, whether it be Roach, and like you mentioned with their big man in Filipowski, it very well could be the best offensive team that Houston's seen this season.
Yeah, because to Texas A&M, they're a lot like Houston. Sometimes their best shot is just getting a shot on the rim. Yep. And so, like you're saying, Andy, may seem like they're chucking up shots, in which they are, but it's to get a shot up on the rim and let their offensive rebounding to do some of the work. And so I'm looking forward to this matchup against Duke. I think the rest will bowl Houston players well. They'll be ready to go.
And how you coming with the video?
It's in the process of uploading. Should be ready in about 10, 15 seconds.
And
watching,
I'm going to say this. Carl Bell is not a Kelvin Sampson point guard. He's not.
He's not a point guard either. He's
he's not. No.
He's not a point guard.
Mm-mm. But I'm just looking forward to the matchup, and I hope some people say it, media people say it, or if some of the players for Houston say it. Blue collar versus blue blood. Justin Gorham said it when he was here. It's what the culture is.
Says it all the time.
Kellen says it. I hope he says a lot this week leading up to the matchup. Blue collar versus blue blood.
We started right here in Let's Rage Coogs. Blue collar versus blue blood. Got to promote it.
Yep.
You heard it here first.
Maybe new merch coming soon.
Blue collar versus blue blood.
Yeah, but I think Houston still is fighting to make their household name. I think it's good, the Sweet 16 every year, the consistencies of that. But to set yourself apart, you got to win the chip, man. You got to win the chip to earn that. That's going to really earn your respect nationally.
I will say this, when you think of the Sweet 16 opponents that they've had in years past, not to take anything away from Miami, to take anything away from Arizona, or even when they made it to the Final Four against Syracuse, but Duke, they haven't faced an opponent like that in the Sweet 16 since they did in 2019 when they played Kentucky. So there's definitely going to be a lot more eyeballs. Obviously, there's already a lot in the NCAA tournament, but a lot more eyeballs. They get to see Houston, who probably don't see them all the time, so they'll be exposed to Houston's style of basketball. On that note, the clip is ready. Let's hear what Kelvin Sampson select players had to say following their victory over Texas A&M.
Become the first team since 1987 to win an NCAA tournament team or an NCAA tournament game after having 4 or more players foul out. Coach Samson is joined by senior Jamal Shed, 21 points, 10 assists in 44-plus minutes tonight, and redshirt sophomore guard Emmanuel Sharp, a career-high 30. We'll start with the comments from Coach Samson and then take questions for the student athletes. Coach?
That's a perfect record for Houston to have 4 players foul out and still find a way to win. One of the things I kept hearing was how much better Texas A&M was from the last time that we played them, and how maybe we weren't. And they were right. Texas A&M is a lot better than the first time we played them. Taylor, Obaseki, Radford, those guys are really good. There's a reason why they were dominating the SEC at the end of the year. But regardless of who we put on the floor tonight, our kids didn't play together. They played for each other, and there's a big difference in that. A lot of teams play together, but teams that play for each other. It's the first time I've done this year. Is that we lost 4 starters from last year's team. Jarris Walker, Marcus Sasser, Shamon Mark, and then a special guy in Reggie Chaney. And I hadn't mentioned Reggie other than when we watched him on film, but I brought Reggie up at halftime. I said that, what would Reggie do, J1? What would Reggie do, Javier? Because I didn't think either one of those guys played very good the first half. So I asked him about Reggie. And as soon as I said it, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jamal got really emotional. Ramon got really emotional. So that one was for Big Rich. They were at full strength and played well. Texas A&M played great tonight. I mean, you can tell they're a lot better team than when we played them early. But as good as they play, we had the best player on the floor, Jamal Shed. And sometimes at the end, that's all you need. Now, as far as we're up 12, was that our biggest lead at the end of the game before they tied it? 13. Somebody's going to say, well, what happened? Well, in case you didn't watch the game, let me explain how this thing happens. You go 1 for 2 from the free throw line, and they come down, shoot and miss, balls batted around. Next thing you know, it's somebody spits it out and they make it 3. Okay, with a couple unfortunate turnovers, with a couple unfortunate calls go our way, but you give all the credit to Texas A&M there. You don't make any excuses. Their kids were fighting their hearts out. That's one of the things that makes Texas A&M so good. That's why they won 5 straight SEC games, is how hard they fight. But you saw 2 teams do that tonight. We have a tremendous culture that's built on the kids that we bring into our program. We're not much of a lot of teams, and the portal's been good to us. O.J. Cryer came from the portal. Damian came from the portal. But it's the homegrown guys like Jamal came in as a 17-year-old freshman, Jaywan Roberts, 17-year-old freshman, Emmanuel, 18-year-old freshman, Javier Francis, 17-year-old freshman, Ramon Walker came in as a freshman. Most of our guys came in as freshmen and stayed. And probably the statistic that still blows me away in this day and age is in our top 10 players over the last 10 years, we've only had 2 kids transfer that was in our top 10.
So that was head coach Calvin Samson, who in his opening statement went almost 5 minutes talking about Houston Cougars' victory over Texas A&M. But that story he brought up, the message at halftime, was one that Jamal Shed told John Rothstein during the post-game interview on television. And you can definitely tell just by Jamal Shed, I mean, he was fighting back tears as he was recalling the story that Calvin Samson alluded to in his post-game. But yeah, this was a victory that they were dedicated to Reggie Chaney, which, when you think about it, it was a very grinded-out, physical game that Reggie Chaney would have loved to be a part of.
Yeah, type he would have excelled in. And he would have fit right in. He would have been right in the mix of it, getting those offensive rebounds and doing his thing.
Being physical,
Mm-hmm.
matching that physicality, getting
Intensity.
rebounds, all that. Yep.
One thing that he stood out to me though, like he said, that A&M fought, we fought, but we had the best player on the floor, and that's Jamal Shed. And just the way he led, the way that he not only picked up his offense in a time when they needed, but picking and choosing his spots from feeding LJ, fit in the second half, feeding Emmanuel in the first half. He put up 14 threes and made 7 of them. But him being aggressive to take those shots and getting them in the position to take those shots was what Houston needed. They were going to need to score, needed to outscore them because of just how good of A&M was going to keep fighting. So shout out to Jamal, man. He's doing exactly what I expected him to do, but the job is not finished, and I know he's ready to keep going and get his ultimate goal, that what he wants.
And A&M put Solomon Washington on Jamal, and Solomon is, in his opinion, one of the best.
Defender.
He's a great defender, and he was
He's
clapping. He accepted that challenge, and Jamal still beat him off the dribble.
He made a great play down the stretch. I want to give him credit too. Yep. Jamal was beating him some, but he made a great play down the stretch and got a strip on him. I like him. I like his game.
Yeah, it's good for those one-on-one battles to see greatness go against greatness. So that's what this game was, a great example of. Two physical, high competitive teams going at it, and if we could make it happen, we would like to see Texas A&M versus Houston non-conference for the next 3-5 years. Going, why not? Why not make it happen?
This is the comment. This is what I meant by Houston has to win a championship to lead the Gonzaga tier. Just making Sweet 16s is still in the Gonzaga tier. Yep. Gonzaga has made it to a national championship game, and Houston hasn't done that yet. And so it's more than just making it to a Final Four or to a game. You got to win it. That's how you leave the Gonzaga tier.
Because Baylor has that chip.
Mm-hmm.
But they have not got back to Sweet 16 since they won that chip.
Right.
But what do folks know them for?
That 2021 national championship every year.
Facts.
So that's what's left for Coach Samson. And, the players are going to try to get it for him. Be great if it happens this year. They got Duke on Friday with 4 more wins. 4 more wins. But first one starts matchup against Duke Friday. Game's going to be on CBS. Folks who are chiming in late, because you got new folks joining us here on Let's Rage Coogs. But that game is 8:35 on Friday on CBS, 8:35 Central on CBS. 1 seed Houston, 4 seed Duke. As we're going to coin and promote, 1 seed Houston, blue collar, against 4 seed Duke, blue blood.
Yes, sir. Blue blood versus blue collar. And that game will be emanating from the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. So there should be a good, huge contingent of Houston Cougars, Red fans, alumni presence at the American Airlines Center.
Another thing that I wanted to bring up too is I saw the comment that Fran, and that was the same comment that I kind of made after the game. Texas A&M was a better team than the team that we played. And when he says that, that's not to say that Houston isn't a better team, because honestly, we aren't because of the injuries.
Right.
But that still doesn't mean that we aren't good. And so, like Coach Samson just backed that up and just looking at it objectively from a basketball perspective, and it shows that Houston still is the better team. And to give credit where credit is due for A&M.
Yeah, Coach Buzz and the staff made a change, put Obaseki in the starting lineup. They were 6-1 with him in the starting lineup. So they were a better team and different team from December. From January, they lost 5 in a row. And some folks up in Aggie land were out getting texts. Is Coach Williams in trouble? Is he on the hot seat? He turned things around down the stretch, and they played a hell of a game. Now we can say Sunday night because it's Monday morning now. So,
yeah. And to add on to the comment, he said that they might have been a better team, but Houston had the better player best player on the court in Jamal Shead. That's ultimately the difference that they were able to get across the finish line.
Yep.
Andy, can you see it? Can you pull it up? All right. Tweet. I'm going to read it. See if you can pull it up, put it on the screen, share screen or whatever. Kellen Samson about an hour ago. Cougar Nation.
Yeah.
Get your truck, fire it up, and get your butt to Dallas. Make D-Town Cougar Town. We need all of y'all. Hashtag for the city. Challenge.
Yeah, we got to make American Airlines Center for Fertitta South.
So there it is.
Fertitta South.
Can you make it bigger? I can't see. My old eyes can't see that or whatever.
Or really Fertitta North, since it's going
Fertitta North. Yep. Make it to a point where the Duke fans are like, golly, man, it's like a home game it's like a road game for us, man.
Mm-hmm.
All that red, Houston red. God, this is unfair. There were so many Cougar fans there. We couldn't hear calling the plays. Golly, this, hey.
One thing about them Blue Bloods, Chris, is they travel. And so that's a huge challenge to Houston. And
Duke is a national program. So they got fans. They got fans who never went to Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Fan though, that kind of stuff. So yep.
Yeah, you got to make it Fertitta North.
Naveen,
I want to pull up this one.
Houston game. Have to think about that one. I don't know about that one.
Let me pull up this last video real quick. This is posted from the official UH account. Let me go ahead and make it full screen so it can be seen.
Let's do it, Rob.
Right there, Calvin Sampson let Ryan Elvin do the deed of putting the Cougars and punching their ticket into the Sweet 16.
First thing, what was the game? Now here it is. What was the game? My computer's not going here. Here we go. Name me a crazier Houston game. The game where Tremont had to put back. Yeah, the put back. Out of nowhere.
That was the Rutgers second round game. That Rutgers game was pretty crazy.
That one was a hell of a game right there. And which Houston? Let's see. Which Houston game has been better in recent memory? Well, it depends on what you like, because a lot of fans, this gave fans heart attacks and scared them half to death and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of games.
So I don't know if fans will like that.
Think back to last year, Jamal Shead's buzzer beater against Memphis.
See, I was going with that. Yeah, beat Memphis in Memphis.
Couple years before. I mean, this was even during that COVID year, right before the Rutgers game, when Tremont Mark had the half-court buzzer beater against Memphis at the Fertitta Center. So there's been a couple.
Yep.
Shout out to Rayo though, man, for being ready. You could tell it was nervous in that first free throw. That second one, he was settled in, knocked it in. That made a 4-point lead, and so. Shows the Houston's culture, man. You walk on in a clutch time situation in the NCAA tournament, stepping up, making a clutch free throw. Man, that was a huge moment.
Mark Minetria.
Best
UH game. Minetria, who's brought up the 1983 national game semifinal versus Louisville way before its time, you said.
Yeah, we went to elementary school together. We go back a long ways. That game was a hell of a game, but unfortunately, it was just the semifinal. And then something happened after that. I don't recall. So,
no, at least that was. You don't have to worry about the Wolfpack in this tournament running into them. It looked for a second that they might have been on a collision course. Work Dude says he agrees. He thinks this game gets a nod over last year's buzzer beater in Memphis.
We could run into NC State.
I was going to say, we're talking about Andy.
What you talking about, Andy?
Hey,
we could.
Wait,
we
I was
see
thinking,
them. They got Marquette, and they playing so well right now.
I was I confuse them with the Oregon. I was watching the Oregon. Who'd they play? Who'd they lose to in overtime? Last night, or I guess 2 nights ago. I was confusing them with them, but now, yeah, you're right. They are in the Sweet 16. They're playing Marquette, so they could be on a collision course.
Yes.
But yeah, if I tallied right, Sweet 16 teams, ACC has 4, Big East got 3, Big 12 2, Big 10 2,
SEC has Tennessee
SEC has
and
2, Alabama, Mountain West 1, San Diego State, Pac-12, Arizona, and the Zags represent the West Coast Conference.
So really, a Big 12 got 3 with Arizona.
Right. But the money won't come to the Big 12.
I'm just saying, looking forward next year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we can look even more forward. Some of those ACC teams may not be in ACC, so down the line as well. But hell of a win for the Cougars in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
4 starters fouled out, 1 by 5, beating a gritty, tough ass Texas A&M basketball team. Cougs found a way to win, and in March, in tournament time, it's all about survive and advance. And that's what Houston did. Getting to the Sweet 16 for, as Andy said, for the 5th consecutive season. Even though some folks, I'm being petty again. That's what I do sometimes. Some folks, after that loss to Iowa State, oh my gosh, it's all over. Iowa State took Houston's heart. Can't Houston recover? Oh, no. Oh, it's okay. On to the Sweet 16 again. But as Jamal Shed tells all of us, he has one thing left to accomplish in his Houston Cougars career.
What's your
And
prediction,
know what that
Chris,
is.
against Duke?
Cougars going to win. I'll have a score. Cougars going to win. I don't care about one. Cougars going to win. That's all that matters. Cougars going to win.
Andy?
I agree with Chris. I think Houston's defense, even though Duke might be the best offense Houston has played, by far, Houston will be the best defense that Duke has played all season. I think that physicality is going to be the ultimate deciding factor. And I think not as crazy as this one, but I think Houston edges out Duke probably around the range of Naveen in the 70s, mid-70s, maybe 60s. I think it'll be a low-scoring affair.
Yeah, I'm agree with you guys. I think it's going to be around mid-70s. I think both teams are going to get it going in the second half. But I think Houston's toughness, defense, will to win, Jamal Shed, propel them to a victory, get ready for a Final Four. I mean, Elite Eight.
Kyle Filipkowski.
Jared
McCain.
Players.
Jeremy Roach.
Jeremy Roach.
And philosophies too. BYU is really just a 3-3-3. They living down a 3. A lot like Phoenix Suns back in the day.
Oh, that was reminiscent of watching Creighton the other day when they were playing Oregon. They shoot a lot of threes. They reminded me of an NBA team, so we'll see. Yeah, Crabtree says Duke and Baylor's offenses are similar. Yeah, if that's the case, well, Houston has a little bit of a familiarity aspect to it.
We should, I don't know if I have time this week, but maybe do like a little preview show before Friday's game.
Yeah, name the day. As long as it's not Thursday, we'll be open.
Thursday was the day I was thinking of. Off the top of my head, yeah.
I won't be able to on Thursday, but yeah, Crabtree says he likes Houston's chances. Going to be another fight, but just not as physical as tonight's game, and I tend to agree with Crabtree.
Oh yeah, there's not many teams as physical as Texas A&M. Iowa State and the 16 teams left, how many like the Aggies?
Game I'm looking forward to is Iowa State and Illinois.
Yeah. Pace, tempo, offense, defense. Yep. It Texas A&M or Duke more tough, and it's tougher than Duke.
In terms of physicality or in terms of overall?
Duke has better offense than Texas A&M.
Juan says this game feels like it's a pivotal moment for the Cougs this tournament. Hopefully that is the case. Well, that's pretty much going to do it for today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to each and every single one of you guys that have taken the time on Sunday night, now Monday morning, to join us and discuss Houston's overtime victory over Texas A&M. Once again, the final score 100-95 in favor of the Cougars. Emmanuel Sharp had a new career high with 30 points, shot 8 for 16 from the field. 7 of those 8 makes came from behind the 3-point line, and ultimately he fouled out as well. Jamal Shed, not too far behind him. He had 21 points, 10 assists. LJ Cryer had 20 points in his own right. Jawan Roberts had 13 points, 8 rebounds. Malik Wilson had 9 points and 6 rebounds for the Cougars. That game against Duke in the Sweet 16 will be Friday from Dallas at the American Airlines Center, 8:35 Central Time tip. And that, if you're not going to the game, won't be on CBS. If you are going to the game, be sure to wear red and be loud and be chanting, supporting the Houston Cougars. Only a 4-hour drive, a stone's throw away. A drive that the Houston Cougars fans are not unfamiliar with, considering that the American Athletic Conference Tournament has been in Fort Worth every year over the course of the last handful of seasons. So could be a familiar trip. Chris, I'll toss it over to you first. Any final thoughts on either this game or looking ahead at Duke?
Just as always, thank you to everyone for joining us on Let's Rage Coogs. We discussed, recapped a hell of a win by the Cougs. The culture came through, 195 over Texas A&M. Hope you enjoyed it watching on whichever platform you did, on Houston Roundbar View on YouTube, Paul Slamma Jamma on YouTube, or Paul Slamma Jamma on Twitter. Join us on Friday after the game. Be another late night, after dark edition of Let's Rage Coogs. Tell your friends about the show. We are the original post-game show for Houston men's basketball and football. See you Friday. And always remember this, the Houston Roundbar View since 1994. Local name, global perspective.
What a game. Appreciate everyone who tuned in. As you can see, we're internationally known. We're state to state like lights and plates. Thank you all for continuing to support us. And I'm looking forward to this next game against Duke. It's blue blood versus blue collar. And I'm looking forward to Houston's toughness, determination, and will to win to be the determining factor in this game. And it's always a pleasure to be alongside Chris and Andy. And as always, go Cougs.